Welcome to my channel, and today's video we will talk about Sample Scratch, which was introduced as a pad option in Rekordbox 6.5. So when you enter Rekordbox, you go to the top left to select Performance. After that, you go to Pad for the pad editor and change one of the pads to SP Scratch, which stands for Sample Scratch. In my video, I already selected it. After that, you go to the sample icon and click on it to make it visible in your layout. You will see two sets of 8 banks, which will allow you to enter 8 samples, or in this case, scratch samples, to use. Just click and drag one of the tracks or samples to one of the available banks. A regular track will just be visible as usual. But to get to the sample scratch, you will need to press and hold Shift while pressing Scratch Bank. It isn't really clear on the video, but the samples that have been loaded will appear in a dim purple color, or empty banks or slots will appear as no color at all. The moment you tap one of the pads, the purple color will light up, and that will mean that the track has been loaded into the deck. I say loaded for a reason that I will discuss later in the video. During the next clip, you will notice how I call each sample, but it takes a while for the waveform to appear on the display on the S11, where it takes a little bit longer than usual for the sample to appear in Rekordbox itself compared to regular tracks. On the display, it takes even longer. It shouldn't make that big of a difference. When you press Shift and the sample you loaded, the original loaded track does not return to your deck. That's a different behavior than the scratch bank in Serato. This makes it clear that these two features are different from each other. When you compare the sample scratch, which is on the top, to the scratch bank, which is on the bottom, you can see the difference between the two. Scratch banks will show you the cue points and give you the ability to select which cue point you will start at. Sample Scratch will load the complete track when you select it, but you have the option to make it a one-shot or a loop, similar to Scratch Bank. The one advantage that Sample Scratch has over Scratch Banks is that you're able to have 64 samples on both decks compared to the 32 with Scratch Banks. That's because Sample Scratch gives you 8 banks per deck, and for both decks, including the 4 pages you have, it gets you to 32, because what you load to the samples on the second deck can be completely different from the one on the left. Whereas with Scratch Bank, you get the total of 8 shown, and they load for both sides. I hope you enjoyed the video and that it was useful for you. In its current form, Sample Scratch is not as strong as that of its competitors, where Virtual DJ has a feature that is similar to that of Scratch Bank. Let's hope Sample Scratch will continue to develop in something similar, or perhaps even better than Scratch Bank. There's still a few things I'd like to mention from my observations. There isn't a dedicated button in the software UI to get to sample scratch. It uses the same button as the sampler. Sample scratch is a quick way to access different songs directly compared to going to your prepare list and then selecting it from there. Tracks loaded to the banks don't get emptied or ejected after closing the software. Scratch Bank has a similar behavior in Serato. Sample Scratch and Scratch Bank remind me of the feature that was long ago introduced with CDJs called hot cue banks that gave you the ability to call 3 different cue points from 3 different tracks and make it a creative combination. Though hot cue banks were a forgotten feature, with the recent introduction of the CDJ 3000, it seems that the feature has come back to life and taken a more visible role. There are a few videos that will display how to trigger that on CDJs, but for the S11 and controllers, sample scratch will probably be the thing that will get you the closest experience. Thank you for sticking around till the end. I hope you found the last part interesting. And for now, I wish you the best, and till the next video.